Good day everyone, I am Kyla Acabal and together with Julie May Alpas, we will be discussing about the assessment of reading performance. So assessment plays a critical role in teaching and learning. These are measures to ascertain how and how much of the instructional delivery is carried out. Simply take note that assessment is basically the alignment of the objectives or outcomes to the activities being carried out. Well thought of learning outcomes if not appraised within or after the teaching and learning engagement become ineffective. Likewise, this prompts prospective teachers that every academic engagement is within the realms of the intended learning outcomes. So this is the reason why many consider this as a critical part of teaching and learning. Because as teachers, you need to ensure that the assessment measures or activities capture what you intend them to demonstrate within a time frame. So assessment is really important because it helps you assess or know if you're able to deliver your instructions clearly and effectively. So it helps us know that or evaluate if our objectives matches the activities that we delivered. So if it is not assessed or evaluated, then it will lose its effectivity. So assessment in reading instruction allows the students to check their own understanding and monitor progress in the attainment of learning objectives and the development of learning comprehension skills. So assessment in reading helps the students understand or reflect on where they are in their learning progress, in attaining their learning objectives, and where do they stand in terms of their development in their reading comprehension. Allen 2004 claims that assessment involves the use of empirical data on student learning to refine programs and improve student learning. Moreover, Hoba and Fred 2000, said that assessment is the process of gathering and discussing information from multiple and diverse sources and to develop a deep understanding of what students know, understand, and can do with their knowledge. As a result of their educational experiences, the process culminates when assessment results are used to improve subsequent learning. According to Allen 2004, assessment is the process of improving programs and improving student learning through the use of the actual data. So, about what students are learning. According to Huba and Fred, assessment entails compiling data from multiple resources or sources in order to accurately determine what pupils know and are capable of doing beyond the classroom. Utilizing assessment outcomes to improve future learning is the aim. Irwin 1991 expressed that assessment is a systematic basis for making inferences about the learning and development of students. It is the process of defining, selecting, designing, collecting, analyzing, interpreting, and using the information to increase students' learning and development. Irwin's perspectives on assessment is that it is a systematic way in making realizations about learning and development of students. So to improve students' learning and growth, it entails defining, selecting, producing, assembling, evaluating, understanding, and applying knowledge. Palumba and Banta 1999 posted that assessment is a systematic collection, review, and use of information about educational programs undertaken for the purpose of improving student learning and development. Palumba and Banta proposed that assessments involve systematically gathering, reviewing, and utilizing information about educational programs to enhance student learning and development. You need to look in the varying needs of students so that they can be appropriately addressed. Purposes of assessment in reading. Assessment are essential tools teachers of reading teachers as they navigate reading instruction. While overarching content and competencies can be taught to a group of children at the same time. One basic purpose of assessment in reading, whether formal or informal, is primarily to ascertain if the objectives or outcomes set for today's lesson are successfully carried out. Moreover, it serves to development as well as the enrichment of the reading comprehension skills. So, the purpose of assessment is to determine, or it helps teacher diagnose if what are the students' strengths or weaknesses, and their development as well in their reading comprehension. The following authorities, as well as from research findings, share their ideas as well on the purposes of assessment. So, according to Gaisha 2016, assessment results, along with other measurement data, such as those obtained through periodic surveys, are valuable tools for educational institutions. They assist in evaluating the effectiveness of institutional practices by tracking the functioning of different components of the assessment system. So, in his 2016 study, Gaisha emphasized that assessment results combined with regular survey data are important tools for educational institutions. So these tools helps assess how well an organization's practices are working by monitoring various aspects of the evaluation system. Bachman 2004 stressed that assessment is the process by which quantified value, usually numerical, is assigned to the attributes or dimensions related to students' performance while measuring ability or aptitude in such a way that students' quality of performance is preserved. Similarly, Bachman 2004 emphasized that assessment is a method of assigning numerical values to attributes or aspects related to a student's performance. So, this process ensures that the quality of student performance is maintained while measuring students' skills and aptitude. Gallagher 1998 says that measurement or assessment is the process of quantifying the degree to which someone or something possesses a characteristic, quality, or feature. So, according to Gallagher, measurement or assessment is the process of assigning a numerical value to determine the extent to which someone or something possesses a characteristic, quality, or feature. So it can be done by counting how many correct responses a student gives in relation to the total, or by assigning a percentage or assigning a student numerical score. Marian R. 2007 noted that assessments create dynamic purposes in instruction. According to him, assessment drives instruction in the sense that it informs instructors what students know and do not know at the outset as set in the direction of a course. Assessment drives learning. Apart from this, according to him, assessment informs teaching. So, as highlighted by Marian, assessment serves dynamic purposes in instructions. It guides instructors by revealing what students know and do not know at the beginning. So, it sets the course direction. The assessment also propels learning forward, and it informs teaching by providing valuable insights to instructors. So, this means that assessment determines what and how students learn depending on how they think they will be assessed. He further expressed that assessment informs of their progress as this provides the students feedback so they become aware of their strengths and challenges with respect to course learning outcomes. Apart from this, according to him, assessment informs teaching. He explained that student accomplishments offer instructors insights on the effectiveness of their teaching strategies. The aforementioned denotes that the student's performance is then a manifestation of their degree of attainment of the desired learning outcomes. Given at the onset of the students are made aware on the value and purposes of their assessing of assessing their comprehension skills, especially in the attainment of critical, creative thinking skills, as well as emotional management. They too become conscious of how well they can manage their own learning. Types of reading assessment. In Teach Taught, it is noted that the 6 types of assessment help measure their understanding of whatever is the material at hand. So, first is diagnostic as pre-assessment, whereby students' strengths, weaknesses, knowledge, and skills are being assessed. So, in diagnostic assessments, these are typically delivered before instruction takes place. So, this timing is due to the assessment function. It is to identify gaps in the prerequisite knowledge that can impede students' progress toward grade level learning objectives. So, information obtained from assessments can be used to develop an instructional plan that can assess or address students' needs and bring them up to grade level as quickly as possible. Formative assessment. Where students' performance is monitored and checked during instruction and usually occurs regularly throughout the instruction process. Formative reading comprehension assessments are considered the most informal type of assessment. In fact, if you've done it well, the students do not even realize how they are being assessed. So it is often characterized as the assessment for learning as opposed to an assessment of learning because of its intimate association with the instruction. So the focus in formative instruction is capturing students' understanding often and real-time so misconceptions can be uncovered and corrective solutions can be brought to bear in a timely manner. Formative assessments can take on many forms, such as encouraging students to retell what they read, engaging in discussions about the text, responding verbally or in writing to text-specific prompts, or completing short multiple-choice quizzes related to the assigned reading. Next is summative assessment. This measures students' achievement at the end of instruction. So, summative reading comprehension assessments are given less frequently, but will typically cover more content. It is given less frequently because it is given at the end of a grading period. So it will cover all the lessons that were taught in that period to assess the learner's knowledge throughout the period. Summative assessments are all about the end result. What have students learned? What did they retain? How much have they progressed? So these tests are used to measure students' overall grasp on material and have a significant impact on their final grades. So they typically take the form of a final project or finals test. Is norm reference. It is the comparison of students' performance against other students in a much larger group. So, norm reference assessment, it refers to the assessment that ranks students on a bell curve to determine the highest and lowest performing students. So, this method is used to understand how student scores compare to a predefined population with similar experience. So for instance, a student's assessment score could be compared to scores of students who took the same course in previous years. And last but not the least is the criterion reference assessment. It measures the student's performance against a goal, specific objective, or standard. Criterion reference assessment, it is teacher judgments about how a student does in an assessment tasks that are based on standards and criteria that are predetermined and made available to students at the same time the assignment is set. So in criterion reference assessment, the teacher assesses students on how they performed in the given task with the It is based on the criteria that is set. Interim or benchmark assessment is done to evaluate a student's performance at periodic intervals, frequently at the end of a grading period. A benchmark assessment is a type of interim assessment, so it could be useful for communicating important facts and data to stakeholders for future actions. So this type of assessment is an example of a summative assessment because it is given at the end of a grading period. So this helps or useful in communicating important facts and data to stakeholders for their future actions. In the teaching of reading, the primary focus of assessment is the
Go.
In the teaching of reading, the primary focus of assessment is on the development of the reading skills that eventually guide the students to become critical and creative thinkers. Word recognition for early graders and critical vocabulary development for the advanced graders are given importance, as well as this obviously lead to the understanding of the written text. Once these assumptions are well placed, teaching and learning activities in reading become purposeful and effective. The main focus of teaching reading is to assess the development of the reading skills of the students that will help them to become a critical and creative thinkers. Another type of reading assessment is the informal reading inventory. This is an assessment tool that serves to diagnose, develop, and remediate phonological knowledge, vocabulary, as well as reading skills that need to be further developed, reinforced by the students. It contains grade-weighted activities by which students from the different grade levels can achieve according to the level of difficulty. So according to Scott 2021, RAI is a primary assessment tool for teachers to create lesson plans for individual students in order to evaluate language usage and determine what students have not been exposed to in the classroom at the beginning of the school year. So, an informal reading inventory, it is conducted by having a student read aloud a selected reading passage while the teacher counts miscues to determine word accuracy. So the student will then answer comprehension questions that will determine their understanding of the text. So, informal reading is used to diagnose a student's strengths and weaknesses. It then drives instruction and supports to the student's reading progress. So according to Scott, informal reading inventory, it is primary assessment tools because it helps teachers create lesson plans that will eventually help students to evaluate their language usage and determine what students have not been exposed to. So obviously, these reading assessment tools are highly essential in ensuring that the activities provided are primarily geared towards the attainment of the reading skills, as these students are guided that these skills are not only for academic purposes but for the actualization of real-life experiences.